I'm Carrie Pierce, Senior Vice President of Engineering and Chief Product Officer at ubermedia.com, a mobile location data vendor. And I'm here to talk about foot traffic over time and how you can analyze foot traffic over time for MLDU.org, your jargon-free guide to mobile location data. So when we start talking about foot traffic over time, we basically want to take a look at visitors to your location and sort of go back in history and do a count of the number of visitors that you have had come to your location over a long period of time. This is a pretty standard data set that you get from mobile location data vendors, and certainly can present some interesting information for you. So basically, looking back through time, you can get a count of each year how many location visitors that you have seen over your location, and see maybe a completely nice upward trend that over time your visitors have been steadily growing. Pat yourself on the back. You guys are doing a great job at your brand. Your boss is going to be happy because you're seeing so many more people come through your doors. But hold on a second. There might be a little problem there because you have to not look at just the visitors to your location, but look at it in sort of a greater context to see what's going on in the world around you. So you can't take just your blinders on. Because what's actually been happening is that over time, as more and more people have started to own smartphones, a greater and greater percentage, we're up to close to 80% of humans here in the United States own smartphones, and app publishers who build applications for smartphones have also been realizing that mobile location data is a way that they can help monetize their apps and their running of their apps, and developing new apps and things like that. So it's become an important mechanism for app publishers to monetize their apps through mobile location data. So as a result, if we travel back in time and we look at sort of the start of smartphones with mobile location data, and we go through time, you can see that what's happening is that you're not getting just more visits in your store, but there's also more visits everywhere. So, and especially when you get into 2016, 2017, 2018, the proliferation in the market has been crazy in terms of the amount of mobile location data. So if we go back to our little graph that we had, which was showing your store and how your store looked, and that nice upward trend that you were seeing, it's also important to put another trend line in here, and that is the trend line of the overall availability of mobile location data through time. And as you can see, that's growing in a geometric fashion. And so what you have to do there is then take that overall mobile location data and use that as a baseline that you can compare your store's data to the overall data activity. So when there's higher activity, of course, you're going to see not just more, you might be seeing more people in your store, but more importantly for this baselining exercise is that you're actually seeing a higher percentage of the people that were in the store, even if there were less people in the store than there were 2 years ago. You're just seeing more of them because more of them are carrying around smartphones that are emitting mobile location data. And so it's really important that you determine this baseline against which you can compare the visitation of your particular store to the overall availability of mobile location data. Each vendor is going to have their own methodology for doing this, and it's definitely a conversation that you should have with your vendor, because when you do this baselining exercise, you may in fact find that you can no longer really pat yourself on the back because maybe one particular location is sort of tailing off in visitation. So we can look at actually a real-world example of looking at this foot traffic trend over time in a baseline manner. Let's look at a Home Depot versus Lowe's. We'll wander off together to central New Jersey, where there happens to be a Lowe's and a Home Depot pretty close to each other. And so it's natural for someone who works for Home Depot or works for Lowe's to want to analyze how is my store doing compared to the other one. And so you can basically put a baseline look, some sort of index, which is different than a raw count, but an index, and line those up next to each other, Home Depot versus a Lowe's, to try to see exactly what the movement was in terms of those stores and how they compare to each other. So in this particular case in Central Jersey, you can see that Home Depot generally had a higher visitation index than the Lowe's did, but both of them have been kind of increasing over time through the year 2018. But you can see that Lowe's is starting to do a little bit better here as they entered the summer in July of 2018, where they're starting to get a push up above Home Depot. This could have been because of some marketing effort or some sort of other change in the market there. And so by using this, you can really get to the point where it's very beneficial for you to try to analyze how your location or anybody's location is doing. Obviously, you know how your location is doing. The real question is, how do you use this to determine how your competitors are doing? So that was foot traffic, a look at foot traffic over time. I encourage you to take a look at more stuff at MLDU.org. Thanks.